Welcome, welcome, welcome to a podcast number 30 of the Beautiful Things podcast. Thank you so much for popping by. If you are new to the channel, then welcome. I hope you like what you see. If you're a long-term viewer, then welcome back. I know I haven't podcasted very much recently. I took the whole summer off and then I came back just after the summer holidays and then have been so super busy that I've had no time to knit, crochet or produce anything to show you. So as you know, I only podcast when I have something worth podcasting about rather than podcasting on a weekly basis. So the fact that I'm here means I have something to tell you. Yay! I'm going to apologise in advance for the sunshine. I did not put a call in to make it overcast today. It is beautifully sunny, and as I film in my conservatory, you are going to have to put up with the light because I have 1 hour before I have to do the school run, and it is the only slot of the day in which I can film. So, for those of you who follow me on social media and possibly are aware of previous podcasts, you will know that I am fresh off the train from yesterday's Nottingham Yarn Expo. And it was fantastic. I'm going to end today's podcast with a little haul of all of the things that I purchased. I'm also going to give you a little chat about the Nottingham Yarn Festival and various other bits. And I have got a completely separate vlog, which I may well have uploaded already, or I might upload after this. I'm not sure what order it's going to go in, but I have done a completely separate vlog all about the Nottingham Yarn Festival and my weekend away. So I have quite a few finished objects to show you. I have some works in progress to show you, and then I'm going to go on to my haul. So we shall start with the biggest thing, which is my outfit for the Nottingham Yarn Festival. So I wore my trusty road trip shawl, which I made ages ago from good old Starcraft Cabaret. Now, I did feel a little bit naughty when I went to the Yarn Festival because I went head to toe in, I'm going to swear, acrylic. Now, I know lots of you don't like acrylic, but I have absolutely no problem using acrylic yarn. I love hand dyes, I love natural fibres, and I use them if I can, but I also love an acrylic. There is nothing more satisfying than a quick whip up of a hat or something along those lines, and also the opportunity to use up your scraps. And that is exactly what this cardigan is. So I'll take my shawl off so you can see. I basically raided my scrap bin and I made myself a big cardigan and or coat. I'm going to move the camera around so that you can see it in a little bit more detail. But before I do, I'll pop a picture up here. This was me on Saturday morning in King's Cross Station in a cafe, and I got some random chap to take my photo for me. He probably thought I was mad, but I wanted to get a full-length picture of me in my top. I hadn't showed it off on social media previously because I was still finishing it at 11 o'clock on Friday night. We had friends around Friday night, we were playing board games, drinking gin, and I was sitting at the table crocheting all of the loops that I've put on it to put the buttons on. So I'll show you here, top of my head. So I've just done 6 very simple loops. They're just a chain that I worked some double crochets into, and I've stitched them onto the back of the cardigan. The buttons were a last minute purchase at 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon from the dreaded Hobbycraft. They're just wooden, but that was all they had that was suitable, but it does the job. So the cardigan is very much made up as I went along. I basically made granny squares, lots of them. I've done 4 round granny squares and I've put a round of black on the outside. I used all my scraps up to make this jumper, and then I've used, I think, 3.5 balls of brand new Starcraft special double knit in black to pull the whole thing together, and they were new things that I purchased. I basically made enough granny squares to go across from shoulder to shoulder, and then went down as long as I wanted my coat to be, and that was my back panel. I then did a granny square and a granny square on each shoulder, and then I've done 2 front panels. Once I'd done those, then I worked out how many granny squares would fit around my arm, and I joined the arm on, and then I basically crocheted all the way up here and all the way down here to make it into a cardigan. And then I did my neckline. Now, actually what I didn't do is this row here and this row here didn't exist when I first made the cardigan. I thought just a 2x2 panel would be enough along the front. But once I did all the neckline, it really wasn't enough. They weren't coming together properly. It was very gapey. So I did have to add an extra row of granny squares last minute, last week, and extend the collar. So that's why we've now got this kind of pointy flap. But actually, I think that works quite nicely. Otherwise, it would have, as you can see, overlapped at the top, which would have looked a bit odd. Although I suppose you could have done something funky with it. Don't know, that kind of works, doesn't it? But anyway, it really was a make-up as I went along operation. It is super comfy, it's super cozy, really lovely and warm. It got lots and lots of love at the Yarn Expo, and it's certainly something that I will wear when I go to expos and things like that, because it obviously is nice and bright. People can see me, and if you're looking for me, you'll find me in a crowd. So, my first finished object. My second finished object you will have seen as a work in progress for the last couple of podcasts, and that is my Down Sheepy Lane socks. I'm really pleased with these. It was actually really lovely to finally get to meet the lovely Debbie from Down Sheepy Lane at the Yarn Expo. More on that a little bit later. But it was nice to actually meet her. But these socks were an absolute dream to make. They are a standard sock, 64 stitch cast on, 2x2 ribbing at the top. I've done a heel flap and gusset and a rounded toe. It's pretty much Winwick Mum's sock till you get to here, and the toe is the Mina Phillips rounded toe from her free sock pattern, which is available on Ravelry. So that's the Knitting Expat. That's kind of my vanilla sock recipe of choice. I don't do a lot of socks. I normally have a pair of socks on the go, on the needles at any one time, because I like to have just a really simple knitting round and round and round project for when I'm traveling or I'm on the go, or I go to someone's house and I want something to do. Something I don't have to concentrate and follow a pattern. I have not got a pair of socks on the needles at the moment. Oh, there we go, look, I can block the sun out. Haven't got a pair of socks on the needles at the moment, but it's almost December. I have absolutely everything crossed that I am going to receive a hand-dyed advent calendar this year from Mr. Mac. I believe he has been talking to the lovely Debbie from Down Sheepy Lane, and I believe the package may be in the house. I think I've seen it. So hopefully on the 1st of December I will be casting on another pair of advent socks like I did last year, which I really enjoyed doing. I just did 6 rows of every colour every day, and I knitted so that at the end of advent I had a completed pair of socks, and I was then ready for my Christmas Eve cast on, which was super fun. So FO number 2. Now for FO number 3, I have 3 finished objects for you. I have actually been quite busy in the last month or so. So this is finished. The ends are darned in, but it is not blocked. I had hoped to get it blocked before I went to the Yarn Expo so that I could wear it, but I didn't get that done. So this is my Kingfisher Shawl. It's really pretty. It's knitted in 2 different colours. You've got this lovely purple with stellina. I can't really see the stellina, the sun's not picking it up. And this lovely speckled grey purpley pink colour. Again, both of these have got stellina in. They're absolutely super soft. Now the Kingfisher Shawl was a test knit from my friend and client Viv. She's designed this pattern and she's going to be releasing it fairly soon, and when she does she's going to be donating a percentage of the sales to Mind, the mental health charity. So I agreed to test knit it for her. It's a very simple pattern and you can really mix it up. So you basically can choose to knit the whole thing in garter stitch or the whole thing in eyelet rows, or you can do a mixture of the two, which is what I did. So I basically made it up as I went along. I changed colour when I fancied it, and I did eyelets when I fancied it, and I did plain garter when I fancied it, and I just kept going until I ran out of yarn. So it is a really nice pattern, but you can see it's got these eyelet sections, This is just a simple 8-row pattern repeat, and then it's got plain garter sections, which is a 2-row pattern repeat. And as I say, you can skip into your eyelets whenever you like. So I started, what did I start with? Oh yeah, I started with an eyelet section at the point here as it curls round. I went into a garter section, then I changed to the purple, and again I went eyelets and garter, and then I did a bit of fading, so a few changes of colour, and then I went into another eyelet section, a smaller garter section, a smaller eyelet section, and then literally just used the last few scraps of the yarn, one last strand of the purple just to cast off with. So I really did squeeze the very last of the yarn into this shawl. I really did squeeze the very last of the yarn into this shawl. So the yarn is, let me just read it because I can't remember. It is Asylum Fibres, and it is their Silver Goose DK. Unfortunately, I've lost the ball bands, so I can't actually remember the exact colourways. One of them is Utopia, but I'm not sure of the other one. But if you go back to my New York vlog, I do show off the yarn in my New York vlog, so you can find that there. So it was purchased from Woolen in Brooklyn when I was in New York. It's absolutely lovely. It's hand dyed in New York, so it is a US yarn, and it's so super squishy and lovely and soft. I'm going to try and get this blocked so that I can wear it on Thursday, because I'm heading off to the Stitching and Hobbycraft show at Excel and would like to wear it there. So I'm going to try and block it this evening. So for those of you that are interested in yarn content, it is a 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon and 5% stellina. So they're my 3 finished objects, and I have 2 works in progress at the moment. The first one is my sock head hat. This is my current kind of replacement sock, so my knitting round and round and round project, and I did quite a bit of it in Germany, and I've done a bit more of it at the Nottingham Yarn Expo. So you can see I'm still working on the rib, but we need 9 inches of that, so I'm probably only halfway through. But it is really, really lovely. I'm knitting that magic loop, and I'm going to really enjoy this hat. Once I've finished it, when I wear it, I will wear it with my new coat from Jules, because the colour matches perfectly. So it's going to get lots and lots of wear and lots of love. Again, I'm afraid I've lost the ball band. I'm really useless at the moment, and I can't actually remember what this yarn is, but I did buy it from Wild and Woolly when I was out on my day trip with Saz. And so you can probably find out a little bit more about it there, where I do my Wild and Woolly haul. But that is my sock head hat. Now the other thing that I'm working on, again going back to acrylic, I'm using these lovely shades from Stylecraft. These are the special DK, and these are 3 of the shades from the limited edition yarn pack that Stylecraft released a couple of years ago. The lovely Catherine from the Crafternoon Treats did a beautiful bag that you could make with this particular pack, and I bought the pack to make the bag, bought the pattern, and then never got around to making the bag. So I'm now using up this double knit in something else. So I have, if you haven't seen already, launched an online crochet along. It's called the Sock Hop, and it starts this Friday. It's just £10 to take part, and for that you will receive the pattern to make a really fantastic pair of crocheted socks, and you will also receive video tuition and video tutorials. So it's a 3-part crochet along. So the first part is released this Friday, and then every Friday after you're going to receive parts 2 and 3. So I've been filming this week my tutorial. So I made a start on my sock, I've done the toe and I've done the foot. And then later on this week, I will film the heel and the leg and then the cuff, so that it can all be uploaded. So if you want to join in with the sock hop, I will pop the details down below. It's going to be lots of fun. It's just £10, and then you will receive access to a dedicated website, and on that website you'll find the pattern and all of the video tutorials so that you can join in. They are going to be there for from here to eternity, basically. So if you can't start this Friday, that's absolutely okay. You don't have to do the crochet in time with everybody else. You can come back and do it whenever you like. But obviously if you do want to join in and keep up with this across the 3 weeks, then we'd love to have you. So next up, what did I buy at the Nottingham Yarn Festival? Well, I didn't actually buy a great deal of yarn. I do like to, when I go to these shows, go with something in mind that I would like to buy, because otherwise I tend to find my purse gets carried away and spends a little bit more money than I possibly would want to. And all I really had in mind for this particular trip was to buy myself a skein of yarn so that I could make myself the Mercury socks. Now I know everybody made these ages ago, but I only just started making socks at that point, and I wasn't ready to do something with a pattern. But I do feel that I'm possibly in that place now. I knew that I didn't want to have a plain yarn, but I also knew it needed to be something fairly neutral and quite pale and pretty, a little pastel speckled something that would really show off the lace, and so that's what I was looking for. I'm also one of these people that I can't buy yarn or craft materials unless I know what I'm going to make with it. I actually drove my dear friend Miriam mad when we went to Yarndale a few years back, because everything that she bought, all I would ask her is, what are you going to make with it, Miriam? What are you going to make with it, Miriam? And all she could reply with was, I don't know, I just like it. And she actually swore in my face at the end of the day. I'm not going to tell you what she said, it's not repeatable. But she really did get hacked off with me, keep asking her what she was going to buy. And so I apologise, because Laura, who came round with us on Saturday at the show, I think I maybe did that to you too. And I do really apologise, because yes, I know some of you just like to buy yarn because it's pretty, but I can't bring myself to have a stash unless I know what I'm going to do with it. But that's just me. So the first thing that I bought was the yarn to make my Mercury socks. So I went to see the lovely Debbie from Down Sheepy Lane. I'm running an online business course at the moment, Crafting Your Business Creatively, and Debbie is taking part in that course, so I wanted to actually get to meet her face to face, which was lovely. So it was also nice to be able to buy some yarn from her. So I bought this beautiful sock yarn. It's called Unicorn Frappuccino. What a great name. And it's her glimmer sock base. So it's 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% gold stellina, and it's 100 gram skein. So it's absolutely beautiful. You can see it here. Let's see if I can get it to shimmer. The sun doesn't like to show off the shimmer, but you can see it's really pretty. Really pastel colours, absolutely gorgeous, and that would be perfect for some Mercury socks. However, it very soon changed from being a pair of socks to being something completely different. Now I will cover this in a little bit more detail later, but one thing I noticed about the Nottingham Yarn Festival that I hadn't noticed at any other yarn show before, and something that made me very happy, was that there was an awful lot of crochet available at the show. Most of the stall holders had both knitted and crocheted items as samples. There was lots of crochet patterns and lots of knitting patterns available, and that made me really happy. So one of the things I bought while I was there, I went to see the lovely Verity at Truly Hooked, and I bought myself a copy of her book On the Hook, which is a fantastic book. It's full of lovely garments and shawls and all sorts of other things, and they're all crocheted and they're all super easy. So I was really pleased to pick up a copy of this book. And I saw this beautiful shawl. This is her Beatrix shawl, and it was hanging on her stand and it looked absolutely gorgeous, and I thought, right, I want to make that. Saz has made it on a couple of occasions and she said it's super easy. And so actually this yarn very soon got switched from a pair of Mercury socks that I actually don't know that I can be bothered to make into a beautiful shawl. So that's what this is going to become. Then I went on to buy what I like to call my fun things. I am terrible when it comes to stationery. I absolutely absolutely love stationery, and if my stationery can be crochet or sewing or knitting related, even better. So I bought myself, first of all, a really cool car sticker from the lovely Tilly Flop, and it says, warning, this vehicle is fitted with a tracking device, with a little star, and then the star says it tracks yarn, fabric, cake and gin. How perfect. So that's from Tilly Flop. Really love that. I then went and saw the lovely girls at Stationery Geek, and they have such a fantastic range of stickers and notebooks and planners and diaries and postcards and all sorts. I bought myself a set of pencils, and the pencils are fab. They say different phrases, so it's got eat, sleep, crochet, repeat. I'm all about the yarn. Crochet is cool. Shh, I'm counting. And also, is it crochet time yet? And the last one is property of a happy hooker, which is perfect because I've always called myself a happy hooker, and when I sign off on my emails to my clients, I always write happy hooking. So they were perfect for me, so they're going to go to work. Then I bought 2 packs of gift tags. Now these tags are brilliant. They have a knitting, a crochet and a sewing themed pack, and each pack has 30 completely different tags. So just as an example, this one says, I love you nearly as much as I love sewing. And I'll open the crochet ones, just read you a couple of random ones. So you've got, if you don't like this, can I have it back? Which is quite good. The wool used in this cost a small fortune, so I really hope you like it. I made this, so yes, you do have to pretend you like it. Blood, sweat and actual tears went into making this, but you're worth it. So lots of gift tags. Now I can see me having these for years because I don't actually make stuff for other people very often. I am a bit of a selfish maker. I find when I've put lots and lots of time and effort into something, or I've spent lots and lots of money on really beautiful yarns, the last thing I want to do is give them away. But that might change. I've got a couple of things up my sleeve for people for Christmas and later on next year, but we'll have to keep quiet on that one because most of the people who I would make things for watch my podcast. A couple more fun things. I love this bag. It's by a company called Temporary Measure, and it's just a drawstring backpack. You can see it's got this lovely alpaca on the front and a ball of knitting yarn. But it's a really great phrase. They had lots and lots of very catchy products on their stand. So it says, this is the place where I keep all my very important knitting things, and you really shouldn't touch anything in this bag. In fact, if you can read this, and the text gets smaller, then I think you'll find that you're actually standing a bit too close. But if you back away quietly with your hands clearly visible at all times, we'll say no more about it. And the alpaca's got rather scary looking eyes, so I wouldn't want to mess with him. So I thought that was very funny, so I treated myself to that one. I also bought this absolutely gorgeous project bag. I could not resist. It's by Sarah Hazel, sarahhazel.com. The fabric is amazing. It's this kind of retro inspired bark cloth, but I don't think it is actually vintage because it's got fluorescent on it, which is something that I don't think I've seen before. But it's got kind of a fluorescent-y bark cloth bottom as well, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's a medium-sized project bag. It's probably easily a 3-skein project that you could get in here, but it was so pretty. It just called to me. Really loved it, so I treated myself to that. And inside there are a couple of cards. I bought lots of cards actually while I was there. I like to keep them in my stash. They're useful to give to people. This is quite a funny one. It's got this kind of 80s style picture on the front of a woman sewing, and it says her superhero costume was coming along nicely. All she really needed now was a snappy name and the kind of nemesis who could be defeated by a can-do attitude and numerous practical skills of a craft-based nature, which I found quite funny. Then you've got this older looking lady sitting in her chair doing her, she's actually crocheting, but it says of all the handicrafts she had tried, she'd found that only with crochet could she make beautiful and decorative items for the home, while at the same time strengthening the pointing finger that she used for furious accusations, moral instruction and righteous indignation, which I found quite funny. Then I got this one, which I liked. Really glamorous lady doing her knitting with a cat wearing the scarf, which was quite cool. So I stocked up on my card stash. And then the last thing we bought from All About Yarn was these gorgeous little Froggy stitch markers. Now Saz and I actually went on these together, so she's got a couple of them. And one of these is destined for somebody as a gift. And then there's 2 left for me. So I love those, they're so sweet. They've got little beaded bellies and their little heads and legs all wiggle around. So we got those. And then what else did I buy? Ooh, yeah. This was my splurge. So every yarn show I go to, I end up having a splurge. I'm terrible. And it's normally because I've seen something I really, really like and I want to replicate it. So this is from the lovely Northshire Yarns. And they do lots of beautiful, beautiful yarn, really high quality yarn. And on their stand was a gorgeous shawl. And I think the thing that sold it to me was that I was able to try this shawl on. So I like a shawl, like my road trip, that I can wear bandana style. So I can wear the point and then I can wrap the 2 ends around the front. That's how I feel most comfortable wearing shawls. I don't tend to wear them over my shoulders. I like to have them on and more decorative and more comfortable. So they had a beautiful shawl. It's called the Elise shawl, and it's a pattern that both Saz and Laura have made before, and they said again it's super, super simple. But this Elise shawl was gorgeous. It was made with the same yarn that I've purchased. I tried it on and it hung so beautifully. It was big enough that it made a real statement, but because it was heavy and weighted, it stayed in place. And I thought it would be really, really cool and really comfy and something that I really wanted to recreate. And they didn't have the exact same yarn. If you've watched the Nottingham Yarn Expo video, you will have seen it. I did show the shawl off. They didn't have the same colourway, but I got something similar. So this is what I picked up. So it's absolutely beautiful, this lovely rainbow pastel skein, and it's called Winter is Dawning. Now it is so unbelievably soft. It's 4-ply, and it is 70% baby alpaca, 20% silk and 10% cashmere. So it was a little bit of a splurge. It was £19 a skein. So it will be quite an expensive shawl, but I know that I'm going to get loads of wear out of it. It is so unbelievably soft, super, super squidgy, and it's going to be really lovely and warm, but at the same point, one of those shawls that you can wear at a yarn festival and not feel that you've got so much around your face that you can't breathe because you're all really hot and bothered. So I'm going to try, if I can, and get this crocheted up fairly quickly, because the next yarn festival that I go to will be the Waltham Abbey Wool Show in January, and I'd like to have it finished so that I can wear it for that. But because it's a crochet pattern and it's super, super quick and super, super simple, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get that done really quickly. Now the very last thing I bought, again, this was all I bought yesterday. All of my other purchases were Saturday, and I was actually panicking when I got back to Saz's house how much money I'd spent. And when I did a bit of a tot up, I actually realised it wasn't quite as bad as I thought. There are a couple of other things that I bought, but they were presents for people, so I can't show them off on here. So I was pleasantly surprised yesterday that I actually only bought one thing, and that was something I hadn't planned to buy. It's a little set. I saw this yarn, it really appealed to me. It's 100% acrylic, it's by Katya and it's called Polaris. Comes in lots of different colourways, but this one was really lovely. It appealed to me. It's beautiful rainbows. It's got purples, pinks, golds, greens, blues. Absolutely lovely. And I could see there was 3 balls in a pack for £15, and I thought, wow, that's not bad at all. What can you make with it? So it actually comes with the pattern. For a really nice shawl, and I was pleasantly surprised to find that again it's crochet, so it's super, super quick. I'm not going to read the pattern out, obviously it's a paid for pattern, but I'm not sure even if you'll be able to see this picture. Not that well, there we go. But you can see it's quite a big blanket style shawl. It's very solid, it's all made in trebles, it's super quick, super easy, and something that I can knock up fairly quickly just while sitting watching the television. Now it was from the lovely ladies at Knit One, and they have a shop, let me find the leaflet. They have a shop in Leicester, and they stock all the major players, Debbie Bliss, Starcraft, West Yorkshire Spinners, Rowan, etc, etc. Now they do have a website, but they don't have this particular kit on the website, but they do have all of this Polaris yarn and all the different colourways. And the lovely lady at the shop said if any of you would like to buy one of these kits to make one of these shawls, if you see mine once it's finished, then you can always give them a ring, drop them an email, choose a colourway, and they will make you up a pack and send it to you. So if you do want to make, the shawl doesn't actually have a name, it just has a shawl. Yeah, so there's no name. But you can give them a call and refer them to this podcast and they'll be able to sort you out. So that's all I bought at the Nottingham Yarn Festival. So a little bit about the festival itself. It was in the Nottingham Trent University Exhibition Centre or Conference Centre, and it was the nicest venue that I have been to for a yarn festival. Granted, Yarndale is something else. Yarndale is lovely, and the whole ambience of being amongst the animals and the cattle and having the sheep outside and being in the pens is really lovely. But it's incredibly cramped. The stall spaces are incredibly small and it's really hard to see what you want to buy. And that can be a little frustrating. But the Nottingham Yarn Festival was great. The space was huge. It was really open. It was a beautiful light. Having recently been to Edinburgh Yarn Festival, which is, you may or may not know, is very, very dark and very enclosed. This particular venue was full of natural light. It was beautiful. You could really see the yarn well. You could look at the colours. Everyone's stands were nice and spacious. You could get in, even on the Saturday when it was busier and there was loads of people there, you could get into the stands. You could have a good look at the yarn. You got a chance to talk to people, and just generally the space was absolutely fantastic for a yarn show. I know there was a few moans from the stall holders because apparently the setup wasn't as easy as it possibly could have been, and some people felt they were a little bit, you know, out of a limb and further away from the main areas, etc, etc. But from a customer's point of view, I can absolutely assure you that I visited every single stall that was in that venue, and I went back to quite a few of them on the second day, so I didn't miss out on your stalls, and I'm pretty sure most people did the same thing. It was very clearly signposted where all the stalls were, but I think the show possibly felt a little bit quieter than others that you've done because there were just as many people there, but because there was so much space and everybody was spread out, it didn't feel quite so hustly and bustly. So having vended myself at yarn shows and also exhibited and done various different conferences and been a customer, I can hand on heart say that it was an absolutely superb venue, and if I was looking for something to vend at again in the future, I wouldn't hesitate to do Nottingham Yarn Festival. It was lovely. What was also great is that there were lots of mums there with buggies and pushchairs, and there was loads of space for them, whereas you wouldn't dream really of taking a buggy somewhere like Yarndale or Edinburgh. It just would be hell on earth, I can imagine. It was perfect if you struggle, you need a wheelchair or disabled access. Yes, there's lots of stairs, but there was also lifts. Big catering areas, lots of toilets, coffee, amazing food. There was like chips and chilli and rice, jacket potatoes, all sorts available, and the queues weren't too long. So brilliant. Thumbs up Nottingham Yarn Festival. I think I can safely say it's my favourite yarn festival, and I will definitely be going back again next year. One of the nicest things about going for 2 days was that on the Sunday it was considerably quieter, and it did give us a chance to talk to quite a few of the stall holders. Now I went with the lovely Saz, who has recently set up her own yarn dyeing company, Cast Yarns. They are launching in March, and because she is my friend and because I stayed with her and because I have helped her come up with ideas for her business, I actually know everything that she has up her sleeve for March and the rest of next year, and all I'm saying is, oh my god, you need to follow Cast Yarns. I'll put the details down below. She's got some really super exciting stuff up her sleeve. And so obviously, although she was out there buying as well and having a generally nice time, she was putting some research in, obviously, as you do. And we got talking to the lovely Lisa, who runs For the Love of Yarn. And we had a long chat with her. We were talking about yarn. We were talking about how beautifully sparkly her yarn was. And Saz was saying how she was struggling keeping the sparkle in her yarn. And Lisa, I won't tell you now because, you know, I don't want to tell it to the world, but Lisa explained to Saz why certain things were happening when she was dyeing her yarn. And I can't believe how lovely that is. I actually said to her, it's so nice that you guys can openly talk about the dyeing process, and you all talk to each other and you all support each other. You make each other's patterns, you try each other's yarns, you share your tips and everything else. There is no evidence of competition. And I think that's what's so nice in the yarn community. And it's the same amongst us podcasters. We all still say hi to each other. We all share each other's content. We all love to get together. We pose for our selfies. We share all over our Instagram. We don't have, I suppose we do have favourites. I do have yarn companies that I will buy from lots, but I wouldn't say I necessarily have a favourite. But we do, just as a community, it's so obvious how much we cherish each other, from a dyer's point of view and also a podcaster's point of view and a customer's point of view. Everybody is just so very friendly, and it's lovely. And Lisa said to her, Sundays are her day for networking. So they're her days when she can get away from her stand, leave it in the care of the mister, and run off and go and chat to her fellow dyers and share tips and things like that, which is really nice. So it was so nice to chat to her. I didn't buy any yarn from Lisa, but what I did do is have a really good look at her Island Shawls book, which I really loved, and I did pick up a copy. And I've decided that I'm going to make the Isla shawl in it. Now the Isla shawl, I haven't got yarn for, but I made a realisation. So you may or may not remember a little while ago, I frogged my exploration station that I had spent months of choosing yarn for. Started knitting, got quite a good way into it, but fallen totally and utterly out of love with it. And in my exploration station was the gorgeous Wool & Vine yarns that I bought, Octopus Garden, and it's so stunning. It needs a shawl that is just very simple, but has big blocks of solidness in it as well as laciness, so that it can really show off the pattern. And Lisa's Isla shawl is absolutely perfect for that. So I'm going to get started on that super soon. It may well be the next thing off my hook, but we shall see. I haven't quite decided, but because the yarn is already caked up, I suspect it will be the case. And I will keep you posted on how I get on with that. But Lisa, thank you for having that conversation with Saz. I know she got so much out of it, and it was really lovely to have a chance to get to know you a little bit better. And hopefully you had a fantastic show. So from what I've purchased and what I've got planned, you'll see that there isn't a lot of knitting planned for the next few months, but I've made a bit of a conscious decision, and it was something actually that I hadn't really thought about, that my mum actually pointed out to me. So my business is obviously craft and sewing classes, and I also sell out online crochet courses and kits. But she said to me, Claire, she said, all you seem to be doing is knitting. She said, how can you be promoting crochet if all we see when we look at you on Instagram and social media and in your podcast is knitting? And she has a very good point. So I've made a concerted effort that I'm going to pick my hook up a little bit more often. I do love crochet. It is my first love. I do prefer it to knitting. I think because I'd been learning to knit over the last 2 years, I was conscious that I always needed to keep something on the go. And as soon as I cast something off, I cast something on. But actually that meant that my poor crochet fell by the wayside. So recently I have done a little bit more crochet. I have been teaching a lot more. I've launched obviously our online sock hop and various other things. So my next few projects will be crochet projects, but that's not to say I'm not going to knit again. So if you watch the podcast just for knitting, don't give up on me. I promise there will still be a little bit of knitting. There will always be something on my needles, but there will be a little bit more crochet in the coming months. Likewise, I am not going to do weekly podcasts or even fortnightly podcasts or even say I'm going to monthly podcast. I will podcast when I have something to show you or something to talk about. I suspect with all of this yarn that I've purchased and the fact that Christmas is coming up and I will have some time where I'm not teaching and that I can sit and enjoy, that there will be some fairly frequent podcasts. There'll probably be a couple before Christmas, I would imagine. I also do have another craftcation planned for December, so if you watch my videos, my channel for sewing, there will be some more sewing and some more dressmaking coming up. That is planned and scheduled, and I'm still undecided about Vlogmas. At the moment, Vlogmas is happening, but I'm not going to commit to daily Vlogmas. I'm going to commit to Vlogmas when I have a day that is Vlogmas worthy. I'm not sure that that's allowed. I'm not sure that that's within the rules of Vlogmas, but I might just make up my own rules. What do you think? So that is podcast number 30. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be back soon when I have a little bit more to talk to you about. See you soon.